Yeah, well, hello and welcome back to the grind on the 1982 Volkswagen Westfalia Subaru Switch. The Westfalia is getting a new heart transplant. There's the old motor there, which I got out last week, and new motor's in, and all the work and all the electric stuff is hooked up. I've got the computer mounted on rubber here. All the wiring comes together here. Put a couple of fuses in line. That's the relays. This relay here isn't being used for anything yet. We'll see what happens with it later. These green tag things, they're just extra wires that aren't being used at this time. They may be used sometime down the road, like this rad fan one might be used. Oh, excuse me. Oh, that was something, right? Anyhow, this week I got this all the wiring sort of in place. I might have done a bit of work still on the engine mount business. Yeah, I did a bit of work on the engine mount business, and then went on to the wiring. So the engine mounts are all in there, and then I was underneath it and hooked up the wires to the starter and things like that. So stick around, see what I did, and enjoy it. It came out all right. This is a pretty good air intake system. That'll work. Okay, bye for now. Yeah, it's always good to start a video with a wiring diagram, eh? So anyhow, here's starter motor. Battery terminal goes to starter motor. Ignition switch, this would be key to start, and the LR is whatever that is. I'll look up the colors later, but it comes down to this relay here, starter interlock relay, then goes back when it gets triggered. Then that triggers, so that must be one of them's a ground, don't know which one, must be this one. So it triggers to get there, and then it sends it back up to here and over to the solenoid on the starter. So pretty simple. The all this stuff from the ignition, and this is security, and then down below here there's, if it has a clutch switch, that all hooks together. So, but that doesn't go through any of the motor stuff like it. This actually is hooked onto this is a B12 terminal on the back of the motor, but that's only for if you have a automatic transmission control system, which it doesn't have, and backlight light, that's what those things are for. So anyway, pretty simple. I'll just make it so that it runs the starter properly, and from the key in the ignition, and then we'll that wire that goes from the computer out to the starter is actually a signal that goes, so when you trigger this, then it'll also trigger that wire that goes to the computer and tells the computer to set the motor up for starting. I think that's how it works. Okay, here I am now at the back in the shop with my wiring diagram. This is the relay, that one. It's got like blue and red. LR here is blue and red. So blue and red, and it's got a red and yellow, which is that one there, goes to the starter, and it's got a yellow and green, which is this one here, green with yellow, goes down to this clutch switch. So this thing here makes sure that your clutch is engaged before you try to start the motor. That I don't need unless I want to hook it onto, I could hook that onto the neutral switch of the Volkswagen van, would do the same thing. And don't know what this stuff here does. This is the security. This is that, but with a security system, which this car had a security system, I think. I don't know. Anyway, that will be fine. I'll figure it out. Yeah, so I've got the ignition, the old out of the Subaru here. So when you turn this key to you know, starter position. Well, I can't do that, not tough enough, like that, then it triggers this blue and red wire. So that comes down and then provides power to this thing here. Okay, then it goes out of there. These two wires are connected to each other, 4 and 2, for whatever reason. And it goes out into the clutch switch, and if the clutch switch says yes, then this will go to the starter, and that'll be red with yellow going to the starter out of that relay. Where's my relay? Here it is. Red with yellow, which is pretty big wire for it to go just to the starter switch on the starter. Like here, this is the battery wire. That wire there, I think, I don't know. I'll have to do some thinking about this. I'll have to find the starter circuit and see what it goes to. Well, is the starter circuit on here? Yeah. B14. How come it doesn't have B14 here in the... Oh, this thing drives you nuts sometimes. Okay, so, but it's got red with yellow going to this B14, which is that same red with yellow. And then this one here, the battery terminal, goes to the starter there. It's only got the two of them, and then this one here triggers that. But somehow there's got to be there's a wire that comes back from here to the wire comes back from here to the computer. Now I wonder where that wire is. Okay, next on the list is to get this stuff loomed up. I did a bunch of playing around with this. Maybe, did I show you that? I think I did. That I know what wire is supposed to go to the starter to make it trigger. And I think that the wire from the starter goes to the computer and tells it, hey, I've got starter triggered here, so get the motor started. I think that's the way it works. Anyway, we'll find out when I go to try and start it, I guess. Now, I've got all this loom stuff that's been hanging around here for a few years, so I'll use that up, put it all into here, just tidy this up and make it look like a wiring harness. Okay, so I decided that I'd run all these spare wires, like that's fan relay. This one here is key on. This one here is power. This one here, oil pressure. That one is water temperature and tachometer and rad fan number 2. I think I already saw that one. Anyway, I ran them all out here, which is all handy to this relay thing. This is the fuel pump relay, and that's the starter relay. That'll be the fan relay someday soon, unless I make it the starter relay. But anyway, we'll have a relay there of some sort. Like the fan's going to be up front, so I might have to put the relay up front and run it off a different circuit. Yeah, so that will likely be starter relay, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, it's a relay. Then this one here, this branch goes to the OBDM2, and the testing. This is a Subaru test thing. That's, you plug that together to make things, to put it into test mode when the computer's hooked up. Not right now. Then I've got it black taped. So this part here that's black tape, I'm going to also put on, there's a couple of ground wires. I just left them on there, and I'll, they can hook onto anything that needs a ground. Not sure, not knowing yet. Like this might have to run back around to the motor or something. We'll see. There is be a ground underneath to the motor. I haven't got that done yet. We'll get there. Okay, then I'm just black taping it with this like cloth tape. It's nice, it feels nice anyhow. And then I've got a bunch of this split loom stuff, so we'll put on the split loom stuff afterwards onto the big areas here where they're going to get hanging around in the motor. Okay, got to do this bunch here, and then this bunch here, and I'll do this bunch here first. This goes to the goes to there, whatever that's called, the computer. Okay, just taping, tape. Yeah, okay, so got it all taped up everywhere. Now I'm still going to put that split loom on here, so just to give it a bit more protection. Then all these are the connections to the motor, right? Move along. This arm here goes out, makes a connection to the computer. These are just unused things. Could use them someday, maybe. I'll leave them out. This one here, this arm here, there's the ground. Now I cut that ground back some because it was way along and going forever. No need. And I put two ends on it here. One end I'm going to put on the motor, and the other end I'm going to put on the body of the car, right? Then this goes down to all of the, like that would be the igniter. That goes to the starter motor. These ones here, that goes to the airflow measurer. That goes to the solenoid for the EGR solenoid, I think. I'm not really sure. This one here goes to something else that I forget the name of it, but I think it's to do with the automatic transmission. I'm not sure. Not sure what it does. Okay, anyhow, and then down in here, this end here goes to, this little branch here goes to that Bluetooth thing, and this is the connector for Subaru. Another ground wire here. It comes to the same place, and I'm just going to again ground that to the body of the car. I think that one here, that end will go to the motor, this end will go to the body of the car, and then there's a big ground that goes to the motor underneath. Okay, then all this stuff here is what has to get connected to Volkswagen. So this one here is key on. This one here is power from 12 volt power from the battery. This one here is tachometer. This one here is rad fan number 1. Don't know if I'll use that or not, but it's there. And there's another one here somewhere. Water temperature is that purple one. What's this green thing? Oil pressure and water temperature. Then this branch here just goes out to these. This is the fuel pump relay, and that one there is the ignition relay and a ground. So that's all of it. Now I'll get it some of this big stuff onto there. I had it, like I made some repairs to some of the wires. I made this ground wire come out longer, that ground wire go out shorter. So I just took the wire from there and put it on here. There you go. Okay, here's all this double split loom they call, I guess. Now sometimes it's not quite big enough, but for the most part it's all right, this stuff. I don't know, sometimes I think that the guy that invented this stuff either should be a hero, or, you know, get a hero's medal, or be shot. One of the two. Anyway, this is all on. I didn't put any on this arm out here. Don't know for sure where that's going to lay. This stuff here will likely be hanging above the motor and some way to get around there. Don't know for sure yet. Yeah. Where's this stuff go? This all sort of goes to the same spot. Oh well. We'll just get her figured. Doesn't really matter where it goes, right? As long as it gets, well, this has to be over by the energy side, and the same with this has to be over by the energy side, so they'll be handy to each other, and then the rest of the stuff spreads out into the motor. I'm not going to do it today. I'm heading up today. It's 4:30, so tomorrow I'll come back and see about, well, one thing I just did that might be likely be helpful down the way here is I put in a
a good ground stud there. I drilled a hole through a couple of stainless washers and a bunch of what do you call that stuff, dielectric grease on it, so it goes to the outside. But this is, I cleaned that all off so that it'll be a good connection there. Anyway, that's ground from, see this stuff here, this is Volkswagen stuff. This comes from the starter motor, and then this double relay business goes into the injection system for the Volkswagen. But what I'm going to do now is measure this here, and then I'll see if I can, on the 3D printer, I'll see if I can make a thing that'll fit in there. Just nice. And then going that way. See what I can do.
Yeah, so there I made a intake tube. I've ordered a corner thing from Amazon, those silicone tubes, right? This is 170 millimeters outside diameter, and I didn't make it quite thick enough. I think it's pretty strong, but I think that I should make it a bit thicker. So I've gone back to the went back to the drawing board, and about 5 or 6 hours that'll be done. But it's about twice as thick on the walls. Then one thing I did do, go back over here, get a view of the house. Here's the house. Get a nice view out the front windows. Hey? Anyway. These, I put 3 holes on this side that I can, have it pointing upward, because it needs some vacuum holes along there. Then I'm going to, I have some little plastic inserts that I'm going to epoxy into that, and that should work. If I tried to make, like I could make an extrusion here, but typically they don't hold as well. They're not as strong coming out this way. Anyway, that's all for that. Okay, get down to some serious work here now. Hey, now I'm going to hook up all this stuff here again. Like, that's the throttle there from the front of the car, and this thing here is the where is it? Right there. That's the hookup for the gear shift lever. Then I want to hook the electricity up to here for now, and see what wires come from where. I know that these 2 wires here go to the other side. Heavy duty wires. Okay, well, we'll just see what wires go where. Okay, anyhow, I'll be up there. Okay, this is from the other side over there. That goes to this one here goes to the ignition starter switch way up there. This one is the signal for it to, close that solenoid. This one here hooks onto the battery, and that's just power. That's straight power. It goes right to here. So that's how the engine gets power. So now I've got to figure out how come that one's there, where does it go, and what does it do? Yeah, okay. There's 3 heavy wires that come off the alternator and 1 little light wire. Now, here's the generator there. These 2 white ones, they join together in there, and this 3rd white one joins together, and this black with white, it goes to the light on the dash. These 2 here come through this F38 plug and go, am I looking in the right place? I don't know. And they all go sort of to the battery through a fuse or something like that, but everything goes to the battery. So it's all just goes to the same power supply. So I was worried about whether one of these had to go somewhere else, and apparently not. So I'll just take them all and hook them up the same way that the Volkswagen was hooked up. Everything from the alternator goes to the starter thing, and it was just 2 wires from the Volkswagen. It'll be 3 wires from this one. Yeah, there's all the throttle linkages hooked up and the gear shift linkage hooked up, and all the wires on the starter. Like the Volkswagen has every wire goes, all the hot wires go to the starter and try and go elsewhere from there, back here in the engine compartment. Then I tightened up this bolt here, which holds the front end on, and that little bracket there goes back on in the right spot. So I'm going to leave it there for today, and I'll come back tomorrow and do some more. I'm quite pleased with this motor mount. Oh yeah, and these wires here, that wire, that wire there, that goes up to the alternator, plus the other, that white wire up there goes to the alternator. And I did hook them up just to the, right up onto the battery terminal there, because that's where I figure they should go. Anyway, okay, that's enough of that. I'll give it another whirl tomorrow. See you later. Yeah, so some mundane jobs here. This is the, oh, what do you call that? That's the exhaust manifold that comes from the Subaru, and it seems to, I'll build an exhaust that'll fit here, I think. The one thing I like about having this, it's got all these heat shields on it that are, you know, helpful underneath here. And so I put this on with the new manifold gaskets, and I'm fairly careful about all these things, you know, into aluminum, because they're you don't want to be pulling those studs, right? So they're 20 foot-pounds, 15 to 20 it says in the book. I put them to 20 foot-pounds, and that's not much. So you got to be careful. Like my arm is pretty good for tight, but it's not great for those, that kind of tight. And then this one here, I just cleaned it off. I cleaned off all the surfaces. With the aluminum surfaces, I say, new lips. The aluminum surfaces I cleaned off with my trusty wood chisel, and the steel surfaces I cleaned off with like a grinding disc. Lightly. Just got all the rust and stuff off them. Anyhow, now next is yesterday I got all that sort of put together. It's hanging around, like there's the alternator wire there. I do have, in the mail came a new thing for here, whatever you call that thing, a 165 millimeter belt. Here it is. In fact, 3 of them came. I don't know why 3 came, but that's maybe a minimum order. They're not very expensive. So it's, what is it? PK 675, 675 millimeter. Okay, I'll see about putting that on. Yeah, so here I am, top of the motor. This is in, and I just turn that so you can get about a, like, that's tight. Don't want to make it too tight. Maybe that is too tight. Then these things here, that elbow I built, and this thing here, I built both of them on the 3D printer. Made them pretty thick. My idea was to get this into here somehow, but as you can see, it's not going to make it. So what I have to do is, and I've seen this on the Subaru guys, they cut out this piece of metal across here and down, you know, somewhere around here. Just cut that out of there, and that's likely what I'll do. Then I'll redesign this so it's got a bit of an angular lip to it so that it goes down even there. And I may have to drop the motor a little bit to make everything fit nicely. But we'll see. Now now I want to get this sort of designed in here before I put the wiring harness in, because I don't want to be cutting into the wiring harness, right? Okay, so I'll cut that out of there. Maybe I'll make a line to cut along. Try to. I'll put that into there. I'll put a rag over the top of the transmission stuff. Okay, getting ready. Yeah, I was able to get that cut out of there. And now this thing here. Wait a minute. Need more hands here, hey? Wait, I'll put you down. I'll put you here somehow.
It's a busy spot in here. Okay, now see if I don't knock this on the floor. Right here. So this, I've got that rag stuffed in there, but that will fit on there. And my hands are all in the way. That fits on flush, right? And then over on this side here, I can bend it to where I want it to go. Hang on, send you. Oh, put my finger right in your face, right? So I want this to go about there, and that's the original thing. These holes here are for the vacuum lines, so I'll get that figured out. This hose here, I don't know, can you see it? Oh, that one there is for the brake, power brakes, which goes into that hose there. So I think I'm safe to put on the wiring harness now and see how that works out. I'm gonna go and take the motor and let it down about 1/4 inch, just to give it a little bit more space up there. And so that'll be just shimming it down a little bit on the motor mounts. I'll show you when I get there. Yeah, so there's a 1/4 inch of shims there. Now all I did was loosen off this one, then down to here, and then take the bolt right off of that one, take the nut right off of that one. Now I'll put the nut back on there and tighten it up to, you know, just where it's holding, and then I'll put the shims in there. Yeah, there it is. Now it looks like this, like, see where this thing here is not out as far as the rest of it, so it's a little bit wonky there. I don't think that'll ever matter, but I might put some don't know what I can do. Might have to put a hole through here, and maybe a hole we can't get a drill in there, but a hole through here, and just drilled into that part over there, the back part, and then that'll hold it from shaking back and forth or anything like that. Pretty sure it won't come out, but pretty sure isn't the right answer, right? Anyway, it'll be fine for testing purposes, but I will do something about that. See, this one here is different. Wonder what I can do. Think about that. Might have to just construct something. That's what I'll do. I'll construct a piece that'll go here, out, and hold on to that. That's a good idea. Okay, did I show you that? I'll construct a piece that'll go on here and then go up, and it'll cradle that. That'll work. That'll work. Okay, that'll be just bolted on. Well, I could take the whole thing off and weld it on. Think about it, because it doesn't take too much to get that off of there. Just have to hold the motor up. But now I'll let it down. That's what I was going to do. Let it down and see how things look at the other side. Yeah, my gizmo fits in here now. Oh yeah, that's good fit. It can go like that. Now I've got to get some end pieces and just glue them into those holes. I don't know how many, I don't know for sure what goes in there, but I know there's 2 or 3 vacuum holes on this part here. They might be bigger than this holes that I have, but I can change that if I have to. Anyway, that's pretty good. Yeah, so it always pays to hang on to junk, right? These things here came in a kit that was along with some sort of poor fuel, what do you call that? A fuel filter. They'd screw these in for different sizes of this. So that's 3/8, quarter, 5/16. And then, so now what I'm going to do with these, they're threaded, and I threaded this M10 1.0, and I'm going to put some epoxy on each one of these and then thread them in, and they're in there for good. And if I have to cover them, I'll just cover them over. But that's 3, I know that, I think there's 3 vacuum hoses along this this portion of, from the pictures I've seen, along this portion of the air intake that I don't have here. Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, there. Now I'll have to get the rest of this constructed. I've got some silicone things, elbows coming on from the internet that'll make that. Then I'll put that'll go then next to the air intake, the airflow monitor, airflow measurer. Oh, I forget what you call that thing. Wait till I see if I can find it. Maybe it's, see if that fits on there. Hang on. Yeah, the flow, this says flow is that way. And that's the air, mass airflow monitor. Just a little thing in there. Anyway, I'll build a thing to go from here to this size, because that's what everything else is, this size. 70 millimeters, 2 3/4 inches, 70 millimeters. This one here is 3 inches, and this end here is 2 3/4 inches again. Wonder why they did that. Oh well, ours is not to wonder why. We just go ahead and fix it. And then I think I'll get one of those cone filters, just go on there. That'll be the end of it. So what I'll do is it'll go to there, inside the back of the car, and then this way, and then the filter on it. Let me see how that fits. Well, let's go look. Hang on. Yeah, you got your masking tape mock-up, right? Who knew that masking tape was such a versatile thing? So that will be kind of like there, like that. Then this will be here, like that, and I'll make a corner. Can you see all that? Yeah, you can see that. Then I'll make then filter will go right there, and I'll make some sort of a bracket to hold that all together, hold it up here, and that should work. Okay, we got airflow is figured out. Next thing we got to figure out is wiring. That's tomorrow. Okay, see you later. Okay, back to wiring. I've done a few things. Now I drilled a hole, 2-inch hole here, and I ran the computer through that and the ODOBO thing, right? Then I'm trying to track down, then this stuff here can stay in the engine compartment. Oh, there's my negative, right? So trying to track down the power and key on and all that kind of stuff. All this stuff in here I think is just lights on the back end here, so I may change where that thing there sits, or just change things around a bit. Anyway, doesn't matter. Excuse me. This one here, that's the key on wire. That's electricity comes on when the key comes on. Now if I just, I think, see up there I've got a light on up there underneath the I don't know, can you see that up underneath the dash? There's a light up there. That means the key is on and it's producing electricity. This thing here, key is on, and if I put this to ground, 12.25 volts. I'll go and unhook that, turn off the key, so there's no light up there. Right? Oh, it's a long way up and back and forth on this thing. So key's off, lights off. It's still showing voltage there, 12.5, and that's just coming from my little voltage thing there. Can you see that? That's that right there. Okay, that's just, you know, a very low amperage, and not going to blow up anything with that on it. Then down here, so then now if I touch this to ground, it's going to be 0 because it knows the key is off. Okay, that's good. Happy with that. Then I want to have power. Let's put you here for a minute. Oh my God, yeah. You're getting tangled up in everything here. This, where am I? Get that out of there. I put 12, like this big wire here, that's 12 volts coming in. And let's put that there. Come on. nothing will stay where I want it to stay, right? All I want for Christmas is my ground to stay somewhere. Yeah, 12 point. So there, 12.26 on this thing here, which is power coming in. Yeah, there we are. No, come on. That millivolts it's reading there. Okay, 12.26 volts. Okay, I believe you. You got to believe me. The key is off, and that's power from the battery. That just comes straight from over there on the starter pin. So those two things are good. Now I'll make a little bit of a harness to make these wires. I'm going to cut this stuff. I don't know what this wire here does. It comes from somewhere. Red with a black stripe. Might be something from the computer that goes backwards, and I don't know. Anyway, but this one here is important. I need that one, and I need this one down here. Key on. Okay, let's see what I can do. Okay, so this, I made a little grommet here. You see that? All I took was a piece of 3/8 inch hose and cut it in half, along the side of it in half, and then that makes it so that this stuff here doesn't rub on it. Then that will sit like there somewhere, like that. There's a cabinet goes about here. I don't know how high the thing is, but I've got these two relays here. This is the ignition relay. That one's fuel pump relay. Yeah, fuel pump relay. This one is to be determined relay. Haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet. Now, the wires, these wires, this one here is into the fuel pump relay from this used to be on the fuel pump relay. So from the fuel pump, and it's sort of a double relay that feeds up everything. Anyway, but this would go to the fuel pump. This one here is power on all the time, and this wire down here is ignition on. But that used to be in a previous life. That was, I think that just went to the coil, and then a wire came back from the coil to the computer somehow or other. I don't remember that. Let's have a look here. All these wires, like there's the other half of the ignition wire, right? Or the fuel pump thing. And this thing here is some sort of a sensor of some sort. Yeah, I don't see any wires coming over. There's a wire right here. That one seems to go to the distributor, maybe? Yeah, that one goes to the distributor. So that would have been to the coil here. It looks like the coil was separate. Don't know. It must have got a signal to the computer somehow. Don't know how. Must have been through this thing here somehow. Or no, it wasn't. I forget. Anyway, somehow it got a signal to the computer. Anyway, I won't fret over it, because with this one here is this signal to the computer goes through all this kind of stuff here. Anyway, all it needs out of here is power, and that's got a heavy enough wire there, so I'm pretty sure that's as heavy a wire as I have going into it. Key wire, key on. That wire there. This wire is a bit heavier, but it's not as heavy in the loom. So now I'm going to put this up here. I'm going to run some of this through a fuse box. So I'm going to put a fuse box right here that I have, and I'll run some of these wires through that fuse box so that we have fused connections here. I don't want anything blowing up right away. Yeah, so that's all wire it up. These are spare. This one here, this one here, this goes to the fuel pump right now. And that was the original wiring from the fuel pump. So I could have ran that over to here, but that doesn't matter. This one here is the signal from the starter that's set to the computer that says, hey, I'm alive. And this, I don't know what that one there is for. I'll see if I can track it down. I have the wiring diagram over there. Oil pressure sending comes out of the motor, and I think that this is the oil pressure sending here. I'm going to check that in a couple of minutes here. Hopefully it'll come alive. I think everything here is set to come alive. If I turn the key on, turn the power on there, turn the key on, this should come alive. We'll just wait and see. Okay, now it's reading here 0.33 amps, and that's this thing here, which is the diesel heater I put in there. Whether that diesel, I don't know whether I'll keep the diesel heater in here or not. Probably will. It wouldn't hurt. Needs new fuel lines, and I'll have to think somewhere else to put the fuel for it. Maybe that'll do. We'll see. They might go over there, and I might take part of that cabinet out that's over there because it's got all this wiring stuff underneath it. We'll see. Now, let's go over and turn on the key and see what happens. Well, first I got to put my ODMBODO thing in there. Yeah, so it's all hooked up and it seems to be working. The throttle thing has got, status, and it's reading live data off of there. So that's getting closer to real, right? I still don't have any lights from the sensors on down here for like the ignition light and the other light up there yet, the oil pressure light. And I did hook them up to where I thought they should hook, but I didn't do anything like this. That's the oil pressure light there. I'll just ground that out and see if it comes to, well, what am I trying to say? See if it shows up there from the Volkswagen wiring. And I'll also ground this wire here and see if it shows up there from the Volkswagen wiring. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, here now. So did I show you this? There's, which one's which? This one's key on, and I've got a 20 amp fuse in there. This one's main power, and I put a 30 amp fuse in there. So far, like the way it is right now, is drawing 2 amps to run everything that's hooked up so far. So I think it's okay. I'm going to make some modifications to that holder there. And this stuff here seems to be all okay where it's happy where it's sitting. Got my grommet in there. Still don't have any action on the oil pressure light, but I'll likely do some thinking about that and see if I can figure it out. Same with the no action on the alternator light. Like when I grounded that, it should show up there. It's positive. To make the light come on, it grounds from this side through the alternator, and to make the light go out, the alternator sends positive current to that. So that's the way that should work. So why isn't that showing? Whoops, there goes that thing. That's a sort of a gray wire, eh? I'll follow it. I'll see where it goes. Maybe it's not getting through somewhere down in here. One of these connections here. Don't know. Not knowing. No gray wire there. Unless it's that one there. Okay. Well, I'll just keep on checking stuff. Okay. Figured out something. So that's goes to the solenoid on the starter, which comes from the solenoid of the starter to this end of it, right? That goes to the fuel pump from the from that double whammy thing there to two relays together. This one here is actually, it's on, this is the coil wire is what it gets energy from on the key. Key on is from the coil wire, and this is just hooked to the coil wire, and it would go to this part of this relay on the Volkswagen, and then this, when this is triggered, then it turns on the other relay, which creates power for the computer. That's how it knows the computer wants power. Okay, so this one here, no mystery there. I can just, close that off and tape it off, and I'll put a piece of shrink wrap on the end of it here, and then that can be just a spare 12 volts key on. I'll just mark that as 12 volts key on. Then I still haven't figured out how come there's no lights on the dash, but I guess I'll keep on working on that, keep following the wiring diagram and see what I can come up with. Yeah, so what the stuff here in the way. Here's some good news. So I've hooked up the battery. I still haven't figured out why there's nothing going through the oil pressure light, but there's no lights on the dash at all. So that's something I'm missing out on here. So I will figure it out. Like if you turn on the blinkers, it goes blink, 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 and the blinker light works, I think. Yeah, see, that's blinking. So that works fine. But there's no indicator on the dashboard here. So those things work. And then one thing I did check out, like if you turn the key, it turns the motor. So I must have something hooked up right there. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there for today. I'm actually feeling kind of good about today. So far so good. It seems to be coming together. Okay, there's my phone ringing. See you, bye. More intake stuff. I'll get to that later. Okay, found this online. It's all the what do you call that? Vacuum lines. So, vacuum lines. This is the EGR valve down here. Is it? Yeah, that's the EGR valve. One vacuum line, and that vacuum line is hooked up. This is the BPT, whatever that is. And it's got two vacuum lines here, one vacuum line there, and they're hooked up. Then they go to here, where they get vacuum from the throttle input, from the throttle body. Then the EGR solenoid valve is down here somewhere. And it's all there, I think. As far as I can tell, nothing has changed there. Then you go to the other side. This hose here goes out and gets into this right here, which is, I don't know, a Impreza and post car only switching solenoid valve. So I don't have that. Somewhere down there, it's not there. Then this car here has the purge solenoid valve, which comes down, and it's down there. I found it earlier. Underneath all that stuff is purge solenoid valve. Then from there, the line comes up and it splits off, and it gets to be that one here. That one goes to, the pressure switching source solenoid valve, which is, where is it? This thing here. And it goes to that connector there. Then from that connector, it comes to this thing. Where is it, this thing? This thing here, which is the pressure sensor, atmospheric pressure sensor. Then that goes, then this third line here comes back into this other line that's coming out of here. I saw it right here. That's one that goes to it. This is the one that comes from it. So this one here goes here. Okay, I think I got that sorted. Just have to, I'll do that right now. Hang on, I got that in the wrong spot. Because I wasn't looking at the diagram. So this one goes here, right? This one goes here. And then another one comes out of here and goes to wherever that thing is. Not there. This thing right here. Yes, yes, right there. And that's all the vacuum lines looked after. Yay. Except for these two down here, which go to the, where am I? These two down here go to the like the charcoal filter, charcoal tank thing. I don't know if I have that here or not. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Okay, that'll sort that out. Then EGR valve, or no, not EGR. This is the what do you call this thing? PCV valve, positive PVC, positive PCV, positive crankcase ventilation valve. So you should be able to see it when I shake that. It's supposed to make that sound. If it doesn't make that sound, it's no good. I took it out just to check it. If it goes right here, this is the throttle body here, and that's where it goes in, right there. I'll put some thread sealant on that and put it back in. And then it goes to this pipe here, which is kind of brittle, and connects into this pipe here, which is cut off. That goes into, where is it? I think it goes into this arrangement here somehow. Not sure. Then this thing here has to hook into that thing there. That's what I'm pretty sure about. Okay, I'll just I've got it sort of figured out now. I was worried about that stuff, so it's all figured out. Let me now move on to finishing the wiring. Oh yeah, and I'll go over this. Like I've got this here now, and it'll go in when I'm ready. It'll drop right in there, and that'll hook on, and then this will sit right over there, and I'll put an air, like the airflow measuring machine, which is that thing, this thing here. It goes on the end of that, and then the air filter goes on that. So that's everything to do with intake, outtake. Well, I've got exhaust parts coming. Then fuel lines. This is the intake fuel line. It's got the fuel filter on it. It'll go right there, and then comes in from right there. Right there. Then this is the outlet, and I was able to find, I was wondering where the fuel pressure control valve is, and it's right in, I don't know if you can see in here, but there's no metal here that I can see. In there is a fuel pressure control valve in behind all those pipes and stuff, and it's hooked on sort of to the end of the fuel rail. So right there is the end of the fuel rail. It goes to the fuel pressure control valve and makes it so the pressure is correct for the injectors, and then the computer will fire the injectors whether they have the right pressure or not. But I think there's likely the computer knows if there's not enough pressure. Anyway, so I'll put this thing here back together, and then we'll go after more stuff. That's good. Okay, there's the, oh, what do you call that? The sparker, the exciter, or something like that. This one here is the atmospheric pressure. This one here, I forget the name of it, but that's where it goes. And, well, it doesn't have to go there, but that's where it is. Then these wires here, I'll just get them tucked up out of the way. They go over there to the starter and stuff. This stuff here, I'll tuck it up over here, and that'll be that'll all look good. These wires here, whoops, here I am. These are the wires that were in the black box, right? So I'll likely tuck them back into the black box as soon as I figure out how come there's no dash lights. But that might be a blown fuse up there. It might be just something real simple. I'll check that out. And then this thing here, it won't interfere with all that wiring stuff. I'll just, and it's really easy. I'll just hang it off of here, up here somewhere. We'll put an air filter on there, and we're done. Good. So that's all of that sort of looked after. The only one I don't have, this pipe here is to go to the brake booster, and it's a one-way valve on that. It'll only go that way. It won't let anything go this way. And the valve is in there on the motor part. The Volkswagen one had a one-way valve here halfway long, but that's not needed anymore. Then I'll have to make a pipe. Maybe I'll do it on the 3D printer, make a pipe that goes from that size to that size, and then make a connector there to go to here. That'll be a couple of connectors I have to make. Okay, I can do that. Now that I know how, because I did that, this one here goes from 70 to 80. Once you know how to do it, it's easy. Okay, now carry on. Okay, PCV, positive crankcase ventilation, is here. It goes that way. There's a pipe that goes straight down there that goes into the crankcase, and it's pulling vapors this way. This pipe here has to go to one of these air fresh ducts because it mixes fresh air to go into here. That way it doesn't just get all smoky, right? Then this pipe here, which comes from the top of the valve covers, also hooks onto the fresh air. So it's a closed system. And there should be a vacuum coming through that. Or no, it doesn't really matter. It just needs fresh air out of there. Not really a vacuum. Vacuum doesn't start till here. Okay, but it's a closed system, except it's open onto there. Then it comes through here. There's nothing else stopping it, eh? No. That's how it is. Okay, we'll figure that out. Yeah, so this is where the dashboard sits, right? And this is the connector, the main connector to the dashboard. And these are all those connections are sad looking. They're all pretty greenish. I'll see if I can get them cleaned up, and see if I can clean up the back of this also in here, wherever it goes, right in there. Get that cleaned up. Then maybe it'll start working. I did the, open circuit thing. This is from the book over there. This one here is oil pressure, and this one here is the alternator. So that one does indeed connect. I had it, where am I here? I'll show you. So I've got it grounded at the back of the machine right now. So it should be, you hear it, listen to this. Can you hear that? That means that they're connected together. So this one here, this one is oil pressure. Yeah, see? And it goes to a ground. And this one is generator. And it goes to a ground. Now, maybe I'll go and I'll unhook them and make sure that when they're open, that they don't ground. Yeah, that helped. So there's power going, the clock's going, right? So that says that is got power there now somewhere. See what happens if I turn on the key now. And I've got generator light and oil light. Boy, oh boy, that was a lot of dicking around there. So maybe some of the other stuff will work now too. Like the flashers work all right, but the headlights switch doesn't do anything. should check into that before I put things back together. All these other switches seem to work. I don't remember what this one, that's a emergency light for some reason. I think that's a check engine light business. Not sure. Anyway. But I'll see if I can get the headlights to work. Yeah, their clock's still going. Oil pressure and generator light are both hooked into the new system. I'll just show you here. So, well, hooked into the new parts sort of thing. So there's oil pressure from the wiring harness over there somewhere, hooked to this, and indeed it's showing up there. Here's the generator light from here, hooked into the Volkswagen thing down here for generator light, and it's on. So I think that's all it needs to do. All I need to do with it, don't know, but I know for sure. Well, no, I don't know anything for sure. Pretty sure that the Volkswagen, this oil pressure light is correct. Not sure about the electrics in the generator, but we're going to go with what I think is right, and we'll see from there. Yeah, they're working. Those are parking lights. Do you see them down there? They're parking lights. I can't tell. I have to go outside here and look. You might have seen it. Yeah, parking lights, right? Looks like parking lights at the back on the side, anyhow. And then headlights, and then beams. Yay. So when it's on beams and everything like that, it's still only drawing 4.2 amps. Those are LED lights, so they don't use much. Anyway, that's good news. So that works. Those two indicators work. And the ignition's going back there, so good. Okay. Turn this off now. Okay, I'm going to leave that dashboard out like that until such time as I finish everything here in the back, just to make sure everything's going to work. And the clock is still going. Yeah, tick, tick, tick. Yay. Oh, that was a bit of a challenge. Okay, now back to wiring and stuff like that. Okay, so that's everything's kind of mocked up here now. This is the PVC, positive PCV is this is part of the PCV. You get fresh air here going into the top of the what do you call that, valve covers. Then down here, this is a PCV valve, and this is sucking out of the crankcase. Plus, it also has another line that goes from here to here for fresh air. That mixes enough fresh air into it. Okay, that's how that's going to hook on there, and that'll hold that well. This is the original bit, but it used to be over here somewhere. Then this will go along. It'll be up about here. I'll build a little bracket to go on right there, and just hold it upright. Eh? All the vacuum lines are in, and this is for the power brakes. So I have to, that's 20 millimeters inside diameter, and that where it goes in here is 16 millimeters inside diameter. This hose here, I'll be able to jam it on there and then run it to here, but I'll have to get, one of those ones plugged off. Okay. Now this one here, what's going on there? I have to get a filter thing that has a 75 millimeter opening on it, and no longer than, I guess it can be 100 miles long here, but I'll see if I can get one about maybe 5 inches long here. Okay, see what they have. Anyway, that's enough for today, and got the dashboard working up there. I'm just going to leave the electricity hooked up to it overnight and see what happens. I don't think anything can go wrong with it. Will it? No, it'll be fine. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll just shut off the electricity and that'll be fine. I was going to leave the clock going to see if it's working right, but that's fine. Okay, see you later. Yeah, so I think I got maybe the last piece of the puzzle here. See how this, if it does. Yeah, it even fits. Let me just get that screwed on there. I've got you right here. And if I was at all prepared, I'd have a screwdriver. But as usual, I'm less than prepared. Hang on, I'll get a screwdriver. Yeah, so the puzzle is done. So here, now, I'll show you what I've got done here. This is just a whole bunch of little tinkering, hey? Tinker, tinker, tinker. Okay, so starts, well here, this is the PCV stuff. Well, that's crankcase ventilation. So it gets fresh air from here, and that goes into the valve covers. Then it comes out. This is the PCV valve here. PCV, positive crankcase ventilation. Yeah, PCV valve comes out like this, sucks from the crankcase out to here. But it also, this hose here, which is hurly-cued around, goes in there and provides a little bit of fresh air here, so you don't get all sorts of fumes there without any fresh air. This one here is the idle air control, IAC. Now I built this on the 3D printer and built this on a 3D printer, and then I epoxied these vents into them, built that vent and epoxied that into them, and it all came together pretty nice. And then I found a piece of metal that I was able to just bend it, you know, on a, can you see it comes right around there? I just bent that around using the what do you call that thing over there? The press. The hand press. What do you call that press? My God, what a brain I have. None. Zero brain. Using this and these tools that I made for bending bends. Worked pretty good. Made that little thing. So there, now. And it's like it's 16 gauge or 14 gauge stuff, so it's pretty tough. And that just, between all this stuff being hooked onto each other, and that just holds it up nicely. All the wiring loom is on. The computers here, I've got it setting on rubber mounts, so that's good. That's the port for whatever they call that port. Dear, dear, dear. Anyway, these extra wires here, every one of them, I've just blocked them off with a bit of heat shrink. And then here's the relays. This is ignition relay. This is the fuel pump relay. And that one there is just to be relayed, not relaying anything yet. There's a couple of these that are left over here, like this one is the rad fan, and that one's tack, and this is the temperature. Whether they get used later or not, I don't know. These power, we also have the starter solenoid from the old system not being used. Key on is this side. 12 volt key on. That's this thing here, and I put a fuse on it of 20 amps. This is power on, constant power on, and I put a fuse on there of 30 amps. So that's, everything's good there. Now I may change them to a lighter amperage as time goes by. I'll figure out how many, like I can put a, what I can do is just take the fuse out, put my voltage meter in there and find out how many amps it actually uses, and then put a fuse that will be close to what it uses, like just above what it uses. Anyway, beyond that, then that one there is AIC, idle air IAC, idle air control. This one is the PCV, positive crankcase ventilation. Down here, that's the idle air control thing, electronics. Then this one here is the brake booster, so I had to run a new line, went right over to here, which is where the Volkswagen brake booster goes up, and that's a one-way valve right there. It'll only suck this way, it won't let air go that way. Then, what else is going on? That's the field wire for the generator, alternator, and it hooks into the field wire from the old Volkswagen system, so you get a light in the dash. This cable here, not tight yet, goes right to the starter pin, just hooks onto the starter where the battery hooks onto the starter. This is the I think this one, it lights up the magnets inside here. So key on, it lights up the whole system. This one here lights up the ignition key light thing there. I have a air filter on there. This is the mass airflow sensor. There's a bunch of other sensors in there that we've got hooked up in the electric system. Haven't got the fuel hooked up yet. That's the outlet, that's the inlet, and I haven't got the this goes to there's a charcoal canister up there that I may hook into this part here. These two, I could just loop them or else run them through that charcoal thing, and it actually does have a vent from the gas tank in that charcoal thing, so perhaps I'll run it through there, see what it does. If it idles rough, then it's getting too much air. But I think that it's controlled by the computer anyhow. Everything, then I've got a throttle cable, throttle hooked up, works. Then if you go and I've got that little test mode thing plugged in right now on the electrics for the motor. So now I've got that thing there. It's running 0 amps, right? So I turn on this, and it's got those two lights there. One's the oil pressure, and this is a battery, and that's oil pressure. So they both work, and you can hear this thing clicking away in the background here. And this blue driver comes alive on the ODB2 thing here, and you hear the click of this going, and this is the ignition, and there's something else in here clicks. Don't know what it is, but you can hear it clicking. Maybe it's inside, might be inside the generator, not sure, but I can hear it clicking. Anyway, might be just right here. Might be the idle air control. Anyhow, there's something clicking. Anyway, but that don't matter. Lots of stuff clicks. So everything in here seems to be working, and when you hook up the Bluetooth thing to that, you can get, press the fuel, you can press the gas pedal, you can get, it shows where your gas pedal's sitting, so that's actually working. So that's enough for this project, for this week. Next week we'll see about getting the fuel connected to it, maybe getting some exhaust pipes on it, and maybe start working on the water system. But that'll be, still waiting for some parts to come for that. But so far, it's actually looking pretty good. These pieces here that I made on the 3D printer, I made them pretty tough, but if they need to be tougher, if they deteriorate or something over time, I can make them thicker, and that'll make them work better. But I think they're thick enough. Who knows? And I made them out of PTG or whatever that stuff. It's high temperature plastic. It'll take 230 or 240 degrees before it melts Celsius. So that's pretty hot. And as hot as this will ever get Celsius is around, you know, maybe 100, and if it overheated, it'd be at 120. You'd be really boiling water then. Anyway, that's good. So that's all for this week. Hope you enjoyed it all, and come on back for more next week. There'll be more. Oh, there you are. Sometime about the middle of February 2026. Winter. Anyhow, the wind has been blowing, and there's open water in the bay now. All the wind came from the north and blew the ice out. I imagine it's all smashed up against the Nova Scotia shore now. But the cove has got ice in it. And there's a couple of ice cakes over there. And a dog. Hey. There is a there's an oil tanker in Charlottetown right now, and a escort icebreaker with it. Anyway, sun might get through here. It's a little bit grim, and there's a storm coming tomorrow afternoon. There you go.